Morning everyone, hope you all are blooming. Today we are reading chapter number 4 from history, that is what books and burials tell us. We start from books. There are many oldest books in the world. One of the oldest books is Vedas. There are four Vedas. Four Vedas are number 1 Rigveda, Samveda, Yajurveda and Atharvaveda. There are four Vedas: Rigveda, Samveda, Yajurveda and Atharvaveda. We start from Rigveda. Rigveda is one of the oldest Veda, which was composed about 3500 years ago, and it includes 1000 hymns. 1000 hymns. Hymns means religious poems. Rigveda composed about 3500 years ago, and it includes more than 1000 hymns. These poems, which are related to gods and goddesses, these are called hymns. So Rigveda includes more than 1000 hymns. The other name of hymns is Sukta, and the literally meaning of the Sukta is well said. These hymns were recited. These hymns were recited and heard by the students, but not read and write. These hymns were recited and heard by the students, but not read and write. In these hymns, three gods which give specific importance to them. Number 1 is Agni, the god of fire. Number 2, Indra, the warrior god. Number 3 is Som, a plant from which a special drink was prepared. So these type of hymns were composed by rishis and munis, and these hymns was written down several centuries later and printed less than 200 years ago. During this period, Rigveda, the gurus used to give their preachings by the word of mouth, and their disciples followed them and their teachings. The disciple used to listen very carefully to their gurus and follow their preachings. In the same manner, this tradition was followed generation to generation. We have read in previous chapter that manuscripts were written by hand. They were not in printed form, but it was 200 years ago its first print was taken. Rigveda is in Vedic Sanskrit form. The other name of Vedic Sanskrit is Old Sanskrit. The Rigveda is in Vedic Sanskrit form, and we also known as Old Sanskrit. Means Old Sanskrit, which is different from the Sanskrit which we study today. Sanskrit is very important language. It is a part of family of languages called Indo-European. The family of languages called Indo-European. We divided languages in a part of a family for our convenience. Some other Indian languages are Assamese, Gujarati, Hindi, Kashmiri and Sindhi. And many European languages such as English, French, German, Greek, Italian and Spanish belong to this family. Now question arises, why are they called a family? Because they originally had words in common. For example, Matra. Matra comes from Sanskrit word. Matra comes from Sanskrit word Ma, or Mata comes from Hindi word mother, comes from English language. Did you notice any similarities between these words? Yes. Among the words matra, ma, mother, the common word is ma. The common word is ma. Is it clear? Now, how historians study the Rigveda? Historians and archaeologists need all such resources through which they can gather the information about the past. They also study from written sources. Rigveda as well as old books are in written form and helps the historian to gather information about the past. A manuscript of the Rigveda written on a birch bark. Manuscript written on a birch bark. We have read in previous chapter that manuscripts were written by hand on the palm of leaves or on the birch of trees. Here, a birch is a wood which is available in Himalayas. It is now preserved in Pune Museum. This manuscript was used 150 years ago to produce one of the earliest printed text of the Rigveda as well as an English translation. Some important hymns in Rigveda are in the form of dialogues. Dialogues means conversation between two people. For example, there is one poem, Vishwamitra recited the hymns sitting in front of the rivers Vyas and Vishwamitra sitting in front of two rivers, that was Vyas and Satluj, in which he requested them to keep their level balanced so that it does not harm anyone, because if the level of water increases, then it may cause floods which would lead to heavy destructions. These hymns were composed in the areas where these rivers flow. Therefore, the Rigveda was composed in northwest. Composed in northwestern part of the continent. Northwestern part of the continent. The sages lived in the society where horses and cows were valued animals. This is why rivers are compared to horses and cows. Chariots were also important. In the hymns of Rigveda, the other rivers like the Indus and its tributaries and the Saraswati are also mentioned. The Ganga and Yamuna are mentioned only once.